Hey y'all, what's going on? Take this your more here. So I am just barely getting up good. So yes, I'm in PJs and I have my hair wrapped up in a soft duvet right quick. At least this is what it's supposed to look like for duvet. Uh, but nonetheless, I have to work with what we got. So this is definitely where we at for today for the morning. I am, you know what I mean, not really sure what's gonna go on and take place. I was watching Wednesday in the background for my girl at work, Miss Eva, which is also a part of our great grandmother's name, Eva Perry. So shout out to her, lady. And I miss you, RIP. And so with that being said, I wanted to get on right quick to talk about Nordstrom. I have a very unique love-hate relationship with Nordstrom. And I'll go into a bit of detail as to why for people who are new have not heard this before. And then I'm going to get into why I decided to create this video. I have a link I want to share with you all, and that particular link is why I made this video. It's actually one that is, particularly speaking, going to be used for Nordstrom. And so I want to jump right into this video head first. And that depicts with how I originally found Nordstrom. And not even before working there. Before I worked there, I was a customer. And the service that I had was okay. I got in a pair of earrings, and I think they were white. They were white with rhinestones, and they were like this. So they were not, the daintiest, but they were also um, not really the most calmest pair of earrings either. They were very statement focused. And when we got there, it was myself and our brand space's owner, Bria Sharice Amor, and she bought those for her daughter, which is myself and Tasia Sugar Amor, our brand space's owner. And I ended up going through this section. It might have been something like Top Shop at that particular point in time. And I'm going to tell you another piece as well. Actually, I'm going to write this one down. The thoughts are kind of coming rapidly. So I'm going to talk about this coat from Topshop, which is also a part of the Nordy Club. And so we got the earrings, and they were on a particular type of discount or sale or something like that of that nature. And then I realized that as we were in the section, I found a crop top, and it was solid white and it was a V-neck. And I got the crop top, and I want to say it was around a holiday, around the 4th of July. And I remember, well, that because in the season where the 4th of July is, it's extremely hot. So I just recall having really short hair, and it was styled with a particular kind of curling gel. And I had maybe the edge control and things like that. So we did the edges a certain type of kind of way too. And I really liked that idea. And I got in a comment from a cousin. And Shantia Trundle, Mache, if we getting totally specific about things. And just to build that type of transparency that we all hold so highly in ideal pedestals and what have you. And so we were getting ready to have a type of Perry reunion picnic up in Forest Hills here in Cleveland Heights, East Cleveland, Ohio. And as we were getting ready to go into those things, I had a moment where our cousin had to stop by. Our brand space's owner's cousin, Shantia Trundle, had to come by. Shantia Mache Trundle had to come by. And she's like, "Oh, I like your hair." And I wasn't sure how to take that. And I wasn't sure how to take that. And people are going to know, well, why? And I have the why. The why is because of our relationship. Our relationship had turned. And by that time, she gave a compliment, even though it was going this way. I was like, wow. Um, and so I just didn't say anything. And so as we were going into Nordstrom, and we were going downtown to go to a parking, which we didn't even know was so expensive. And when we got down there, I had that particular t-shirt and maybe with some jeans or something. It was high waisted because again, it's a crop top. And then eventually I took some fabric paint, pink, and I actually put tape, as you see, like packaging tape. It's really thick. And then I took those moments and places in between and I painted them with fabric paint. Took the tape off and now it's strapped. Simple as that. So when people are like kind of sort of like, oh wow, you really think that looks better shorter? Maybe. Yeah. And then you have the flip side to that, and you have people who encourage the same line. Like, oh girl, no, you tripping. That look fine. Uh, okay. So be it to each his own. But my ladies, if you know, you know. And with that being said, as I go to our next Nordy experience, as you see, they kind of escalate. Okay. And it's very easy to turn on these type of negative thoughts and make them less than what they were or more than what they were. And as I continuously went through with these experiences, there were moments in time where I ran into other pieces that came from Nordstrom as well. And what they were was a particular jacket in a nice length. And the length was kind of sort of like a trench, very long. And when it's really that type of embodiment of what goes on and takes place. And as a Scorpion personality, then you understand that those particular colors that I resonate with most and are necessarily drawn to with an authentic nature, which means that I'm I'm naturally done these type of things. The color in this particular item that was received from Topshop, which is an entity of Nordstrom, was actually a gray in color. Now, this particular item actually was a very great coat. I really enjoyed it. I had moments where I just paired it with everything else that was gray to create that monotone look. So that means that the jacket, in particularly speaking, which I have no pictures for, so please don't even ask. Like, just it's gonna be wasting your breath and your time. So when I wanted to do the monotone, that's what I paired it with. Like your shorts that are gray bear crawl boots at the point in time. And I guess as I was pregnant, my feet had swole, so they were easier to use when I was dealing with that particular look. And so as I did the monochromatic look for that particular color, okay, and as you can kind of see it in here now, like this darker color is kind of sort of purple, but it could really be kind of sort of really dark in that gray color from how it presents itself off the screen. And so, even as I was particularly speaking, wearing this particular ensemble, we had just had a fire happen. And that particular fire was really where I realized that some neighbors were just extremely kind of sort of just not able to get it. And I didn't want to be bothered. And I just chose not to entertain those type of people. I choose to leave that behind. I choose to kind of sort of focus and I don't feel as though there's anything wrong with that when somebody else is trying to deter me from a dream. So when I focus, I'm focusing. I'm not trying to please, deal with nobody else's appeasing nature. This is a real live home is burnt to the ground. My daughter is going to get conceived in a place that's been burnt to the ground. And for anybody who wishes that on somebody else, we all have our day of a comeuppance. Can't nobody else tell me different. And not only does it come when we think we just so whatever else, but as you go through some kind of event and you actually have a person there and they are so adamant that you just succeed not, because we all know who they are, you be kind of eager to call for some help too. And that's where this particular Nordstrom piece came from. And so I ended up selling this garment on Poshmark. And the young lady, she loved it. She rated it so highly. So thank you so much to her. And I hope that you really had this type of garment in your item collection and that this particular Topshop coat did not disappoint. I really tried to take care of this particular item. Like told the young lady, I only gave it that particular item to that particular platform, particularly speak, because I gotten pregnant. And because of that, it was harder to actually style this particular garment in the proper way that this garment may have deserved because of the belly. And so that was the only reason why I chose to part ways with this particular Nordstrom garment. And as you can see, an embodiment of the young lady behind that I almost just snapped on. Because sometimes raising a daughter, I just saw Alexa and she was making one of the videos in particular speaking about how there's just men in Dubai who always just have to have their ladies put up, whether there's with maids and housekeepers or people who always want to watch the babies. There's nannies everywhere. And even nannies are so dangerous. Like people have been so quick to put me on with a nanny, and I didn't even like my nanny. My nanny was so into all kind of other people. Did you notice what I said? Other people is where I really want to emphasize. It's the others. And so sometimes I had a dream and I just sat. And I just sat in this space and I was so still. And I could just see everybody around me just constantly going like on a fiddle. Just and it's just, but those are necessarily what people encourage you to be around. It's interesting to see how people actually move, especially when they feel as though that's all you contend with. And it's not. I put my daughter in a place for people who don't know, especially over here who are aware and may really be looking for some kind of childcare. Always really appreciated Sweet Kiddos. Sweet Kiddos had a very, very easy flowing type of environment. And that is so what I needed because I am such an entity that is constantly war upon, especially when dealing with people who come in and alleviate the stress and not add to it, which is actually all that this nanny did. So I can only imagine my mental space and how this type of problem was amplified instead of diminished and lessened. Now, of course, we want to lead to having problems diminished and made life easier to cope and handle. That type of entity is where you really want to ultimately focus for scaling. So I appreciated the fact that she did say that we had nannies, but I really wanted her to focus a little bit more in depthly about the fact that it actually requires good nannies, not just nannies. Because having a nanny, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing the job that they're getting paid and getting your money necessarily, so to speak, to do. most of them can really just take advantage. And it's a beautiful thing when you can find someone who sincerely helps you raise a person and is not just in it for the money. They're not the same things. So I just wanted to clear that up with the natties. And then there's another point that I also wanted to touch on as well that I just heard from her as well, which I love her. I love her community, everything like that. But I also feel like sometimes Alexis can lack forms of some kind of vitality that kind of makes her understand. Once she does, she's a younger girl, so for one, she doesn't even have children to really understand it. So I always feel as though when I speak about things, I really want my audience, my subscribers, to understand where I'm coming from, because we all have viewpoints. I was just reading this in one of my Bible plans the other day, how we have a movie, I think it was called like the Viasage or the Vestige or something like that, but there was an American president who was murdered, assassinated in front of 8 key witnesses. And inside of each key witness, he got sweet and beautiful. So you can't even get mad at her. So when you see somebody that's really taking advantage of an entity, it makes your spine just go into this complete, straight up, was about to be on type of moment. And that's where you have to really tread carefully. And it's very, 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 very tight ropish for sure. And each witness that saw these particular things take place had a very distinct and unique viewpoint. And the movie, which I have never seen, had actually followed each particular specific one. So that's 8 different ones, Labria, that you get to witness and see. Hush. Now, when I deal with going into the alterations department, and so I was home and I was trying to figure out what was taking place, and so another entity, thank you, that was Kevin Lucas, had another really big piece of this particular moment. Labria, thank you. And so when I was just figuring out everything that I wanted to do, there was a moment where I was like, well, I don't know. I want to figure out where I'm going to go, what it is that I can accomplish, how I can make this happen. And Nordstrom popped up again. Now, when I figured out why Nordstrom popped up, I will not shy away from this particular, and what people will not understand is that they lose. They're so lost that they think it's okay to call you out your name. And Alexa does say this, that when people actually are really immature, they're going to make you pay the bill. They're going to call you out your name. They're going to think 50-50 is okay. They're going to think that a woman pursuing a man is fine, because they don't have the capacity to maturely understand anything. They don't come from that. It's not where they're going to go. It's not where they're going to end up. I keep a list of things that I hate about my neighborhood. I know this sounds strange, but this is what I do. I sincerely have, I'm not going to bring it out, I'm not going to go through it, but just trust there's at least maybe 50 items that I just absolutely cannot stand about living in Cleveland, Ohio. And then I have another list. I have a list that I curated to deal with 2026 and the phrases that I feel like embody the woman that I'm becoming. It's a very short list, but it's extremely positive. Now, the comparison to the positive list versus a very long or lengthy negative list of things that reflect an environment, they're total polar opposites. And this is exactly why Kevin Lucas is a really big part of this alterations setup. Now, and we're going to get into why. And please remember, I'm going to put a link for Nordstrom where you can do some things and kind of sort of figure out what the latest and greatest is when you come to dealing with Nordstrom. But not quite yet. let's go to the alterations department first. In the alterations department, I'm cleaning, I'm answering the phones. I am there early. I'm clocking in early. I'm getting good paychecks. And when I go in for an interview over the phone, they think everything is cool. They give me the list of orientation dates. When I get there, it's a really huge, big, fat guy. I mean, like, just total, just a very bizarre guy. And when I leave, I tell him I'm resigning. I'm not coming back. There's an onboarding there, and there's nobody from our department that actually helps me figure out nothing on my very first day of orientation. Everybody else has one, but I don't. Of course, again, I'm totally left out. The person has failed to show up, has failed to say why they're not there, has failed to help understand anything prior to day one. So it's just like failure after failure after failure after failure. And mind you, these failures are really able to have moments where you can have a setup for things that actually makes things go in a more of a flowing state. Nada. Okay. Absolutely nothing. And when you start out with nothing, that reflects back on a young lady. And this particular young lady, when I got there, she was cool. Come back on this day. I came back. She quit. She resigned. And in that time span, I realized that I had a thought there about Kevin Lucas. And immediately when I came back, she was out. I say, well, I'll be damn, what is going on in this particular time frame? And then you have to literally peel back the layers. Now, I'm not sure if that's particularly speaking where Kevin Lucas decided to back up that and deal with everything else. And I was forewarned about it while coming into the Nordstrom's alterations department, which I'm not going to really say isn't either, but I'm not going to say that is it either. But it's got to be something of that nature. And so when I come back, they were saying that she went to another place where I also was disliked. And I will say that was from the North the it's a fashion design school, which is the North Coast College. And originally, it wasn't called the North Coast College, though. I don't even remember what the original name. So you have to go back through and all that stuff if that's really what you want to do. But that's fine because that's not even what the focus of this video is. This particular focus is for Nordstrom. Now, whenever people are flaking like that, they're here one day, they're over here the next day or whatever, it's always some kind of indication that somebody is thinking something else in this. And mind you, this is unfolding even before I've even been there, maybe about a week. And so as it compounds, you have those moments where it's like, well, why show your department that you're going to go ahead on and follow through? Why just up and leave without necessarily giving somebody any kind of notice? It's just very strange. And so fast forward, we're getting ready to figure out where we want to go for art school. I love art. I love Aliyah. I love being able to have that particular skill set. And everybody's in nursing and everybody wants to be a doctor and everybody wants to do all of these things. And you look back and you realize there's not many people who practice art in an artistic way that is geared towards a certain things that comes to dealing with how you write. And mind you, it's tempting to just want to do it because everybody else is doing it or because everybody else is making so much money from it. And that's your soul of Vegas. But as we see, as we talked about earlier with the nannies, that's a plummet that goes straight downhill both ways, either time. Because nurses can be so, I feel like, tempted to use those things for ill. And art is really hard to do something for ill. It's so geared towards beauty that it's more so leaning towards a certain way than it is towards another. And that is where sometimes we kind of miss the mark at. We don't always want to understand that because it's dark or it's moody, but that's not ultimately the point. And so as Nordstrom begins to accept me into their culture a little bit here, I am there early one day or something, and the manager comes in, which I hate. She just was weird. She was just kind of frustrating to be around. She was a white lady, so I always didn't understand and click with her totally. But I'm an African American. Our church congregation is just predominantly African American. So I have this white lady who's trying to tell me where to go and what to do and all this stuff, and I just simply walked. And by the time I chose to leave, I felt liberated. I felt liberated enough to the point where I knew that this was something that was not working. This was not what I wanted to accomplish by having somebody hover about. They call it micro. I think that's what we say. I believe we call it sometimes micromanagement, which is frowned upon. It's a negative. And it is in every which way. And so I left and I resigned. She asked me to go home for the day, and I just flat out said, "Nah, I'm good. I'm not coming back." I don't have to. It was at will in this particular point in time. And when I realized that this particular lady was stuck at this management level mindset, I was just like, "Yeah, this is totally why you're here. You're unhappy. You're miserable as hell. You making me miserable. You micromanage everything I'm doing. Like, I gotta go. This is not working out." And ever since then, I just have that moment of clarity where I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm out. I made the right decision. And if y'all know me, you know that I'm always going to make the best decision at heart. That was what I thought was best, no matter what the decision was. And at the end of the day, that's how I run my business. That's how I run my thoughts. That's how I run whatever it is that I'm taking place whenever God places me at. That's what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm executing. That's what I'm practicing. That's what I'm going to hone as a thought. That is what sharpens iron. That is what makes me so able to spot people when they're coming with some kind of agitating thought and pattern thinking that I ain't even been through yet within the past 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 feet, but I can sense it from here. So that's what you really have to be mindful of. So Nordstrom definitely taught me all of that. And then I have the final nail in the car. And it took some time. I will definitely put that in. It took some time to realize that the lady was still the same. Which I was hoping she actually was not, truth be told. And when I realized this particular entity was still there, hadn't changed in the slightest, has not thought about nothing and no kind of different psychedelic, aphrodisiac, honoring thought that I'm nothing, just complete the same, white privilege, racist, just nothing had changed. And what I always thought was that when I saw the new type of, I want to say, hiring call, need or desperation, whatever, for somebody to work the women's Salesforce department, I was like, oh God, okay, whatever. I'm going to apply and I'm just going to figure it out from whatever this leads to. By the time I get there into Nordstrom, I come across some different things that I really kind of sort of was like, oh, okay, well, cool. We had a great commission. We had a great discount. And so I really kind of sort of wanted to be able to do some of these things. So some of the shoes that I had gotten stolen. And so I always frowned upon that. I think that was from Jasmine Turner, who's always kind of concerned about those entities who are coming to her apartment still. And I think she's moved now. So that might have been the one where she was down in Atlanta, I want to say. And so they constantly are stealing things. And I didn't get those. And I really did want those particular ones to begin with. And then again, mind you, it goes hand in hand with the list of derogatory thoughts for this particular environment. So you've earned them genuinely. And that's where I also have to emphasize that you have earned, no matter how many times you ride around, and I like to call it being on the wagon, no matter whatever you say, you have sincerely chosen a particular path. So when I desire to go somewhere else, there's no right for somebody to speak about things on a wagon method and think that because you in this wagon that that's going to allow for everything that you do to come across as an authentic way. No. You know for a fact that by the time those ideas have solidified into the way that we are actually conducting ourselves, that's how we know that from this moment forward, you're gonna have to learn how to go ahead on and bite that button. And so as I kind of wrapped up what that particular entity was dealing with, I came across so many different times and instances where people were just totally just that face-to-face momentum. They just hate. I mean, with so much hatred. I mean, that's really the only way that I can describe that particular sales for it. It was just riddled in so much hatred, and there is it's and you can sense it. It's very prickly. Like you have to pinpoint. It's so many times where people just simply went ahead and succumbed to their negative moods and feelings, and it resulted in so much hatred. And by the time that had wrapped itself up at, I realize now that I really like Nordstrom, but working in Nordstrom versus liking it is a bit different. And I'm not a Nordstrom employee. I'm not a young lady who was going to work the sales floor. Even though I put my best foot forward when dealing with that particular spot, and I knew that my side of the section of the entire floor was the best one. I knew for a fact that whenever I was getting ready to go somewhere else to do the same thing, that they hated that completely, and so it was best. And then I'll give you one more example to discontinuously spew the hatred. And by the time I actually did leave, I really saw people for who they were. There was a young lady who came up to me, a Suzanne. She's like, "Yeah, Tasha, I'm gonna call you and all this. I want to call and reach out." And she was just going on and on. Yeah, but just saying the weirdest things. Jealous of, how you over here talking to somebody else, like you supposed to just, and it just completely weird. And by the time it got weirder and escalated, I eventually just left. And why is it so much easier to leave? Because it is easy to leave. Trust, it's really, and what's worse, they make it easy. Because your attitude allows myself to see who you are and know that I don't like you. I dislike your attitude. You're not a young lady who I wish to emulate or swap lives with. So it's easy to leave. Because ain't nobody here that I want to swap lives with. Like, it's not that difficult. Anyway, so to make a long story short, I was very aware that this particular Susan was so adamant about, yeah, that's one of the ladies who worked upstairs, HR, Chris's daughter. It's the lady. And your mama, Chris? She's really cool. Oh, wow. Well, how did that, like, what's going on with all of that? You know? No, my mom passed away about 10 years ago. Oh, okay. Well, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Anastasia. How are you? Yeah, it's good to meet you. And Susan is over here, and she sees that. And she also sees who took the time out. Now, that's Nordstrom. What you want, Labria? I'm busy. You see me? Where's your juice at? Here, finish it. Go on. And sit down. You just over here want to what? Take off and just go ahead on and just, you write something over there too? You know you're not supposed to be doing all of that. And ain't nobody going over there. So I ran across some things at Nordstrom that really put me on. And it also, not just even mentally, but physically as well. So I ran across a pair of shoes that I really loved. And those were some black BP shoes. They were booties, ankle boots, things like that. They had studs. They really lasted a really long time. I want to say it was probably around 23, 24 or something like that. And those boots have still held up through the test of time. So BP is definitely on the lower end of shopping within Nordstrom in their women's department. But nonetheless, that boot, I'm telling you now, it's definitely been a really, 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 really great necessarily, so to speak, item and product. So I'm definitely going to make sure that you get the link down here now to shop at Nordstrom. And I definitely suggest going BP. All right. Have a good day. Bye.